All right, you see the program this morning on ITV. It's now time for our second discussion segment. This time around, we're looking at climate change. Well, it's no longer news that we are being faced with different problems as far as the climate is concerned due to some environmental factors of what you call human-induced factors that it's affecting the environment, and the whole world is now complaining that in the shortest future we might be finding it so difficult to actually live in some parts of the world due to the way the climate is being affected. So how do we mitigate these challenges and some of these problems caused by human factors in our environment? Is what we'll be looking at this morning. I have a climate action advocate. He is Julius Akinrede. I hope I got that name correctly. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Now let's begin with climate change. So many persons, a layman may want to give a definition of what climate change is. When you talk about the weather, when you talk about changes in the environment, you always want to associate it with the climate change. Now, what exactly is climate change?
Good morning. Thank you very much for that question. Climate change is simply a deviation from the normal, or what we should be having, that affects the climate and our environment. A very typical example is drought and flooding that is ravaging around the world, particularly in our country here. I think that's a very simple analogy, a very simple one that's close by, just a deviation from the normal. The times the rainfall, the ratio, the intensity of sunlight, and other factors around climate that is affecting man as a people in the ecosystem.
So, an advocate of climate change action advocate. Now, what does this stand to imply? Because now you're talking about changes in our environment, and then how do you begin to fight the environment, or what do you do as an advocate? Right. Let's understand that, because we have so many different experts coming here to tell us different issues.
Thank you very much. I think what I tell everybody, every platform I have to talk is, first, we should see the ecosystem like it belongs to us. Until we see the environment like it belongs to you, it belongs to me, and it belongs to everyone. But first of all, we must first of all take personal responsibility by the way we treat our environment. We cannot live in isolation. If there is possibly flood, I'm able to drive in or walk into your station this morning, and if you look, one of the things some of us who are advocates have been talking about is how we treat the environment. Sometimes probably how we manage our waste. You see sometimes around the world now, if you go around our major cities, because of urbanization and the rest, you see someone takes a sachet of water, throws on the road. When rain falls, you get to see them on your drainages. And then when rain falls, you're talking of flood. And then in some places, you talk of drought, the way we manage our environment, things we do, how we treat the environment, how we take care of our environment. And even in agriculture, in government policies, in actions, in our personal actions, you go to some big settings. You don't see waste bins, everybody just eats through their nylons there. This one will do this, take care. We don't give the environment any regard. For a environment, you go to very few cities now, you see green areas. People will come build. Those are personal responsibilities that we should not just push a lot to the government. That's one of the things some of us are talking about, and we are preaching to everybody. It's a gospel of take care of the environment, make the ecosystem more better for us. I think that's one of the
So now you've talked about so many climate challenges, flood, deforestation, and the rest of them. But let's come back home and look at the ones that are peculiar to our own environment. As an advocate, and your observation, and tell us what areas you think Nigerians have not really done well in terms of the environment, and you feel is affecting the climate.
Thank you very much. One of the areas that have not really done well is how we manage our waste. I'm a preacher of proper waste management. Sometimes when you go to our major cities, you get to some of our major highways, you get to some of the junctions, you see people come when rain is falling, the rainy season, people pick up their waste from their houses, they come to throw on the road. They come to throw on the road, on the waterways, and then there'll be flooding. And then when flood happens, they start saying, sometimes we will spiritualize some of those things. I come from a state where I will not want to mention the state there. You see people build on waterways. And when we go there sometimes to tell them, you have built it on the waterway. What if rain starts falling? What happens? You hear, no, it doesn't matter. Every year we keep averaging, particularly with our waste. That is the most common one around us as a nation now. And we are sitting on a gunpowder. if we don't manage it now, that is, we don't, particularly our waste management. In our homes, I give a very fun example. I say in my house, I sort out my waste. And one of the things aside sorting out waste is you find a way to recycle them. I don't go to supermarket and overpick nylons. That's one major challenge we are facing as a nation now. You get to see polymer. These things are not degradable. They will find their ways to our water waste. They will find their ways to our major waste. And then we have flooding popularly happening around us. And then nobody cares. We feel it's normal. It's not a problem. Even when government puts up waste bin, people take their biscuits wherever on the road. See waste bin by your side? No, they won't take it. So those are one of the most peculiar challenges we have now. And even the way we manage our water, I think we need to get to a point where everybody should be conscious that we need to keep the environment running, and not just running very well. I think those are a very, very peculiar one to us, particularly around the city where we are presently and as a nation.
Okay, let's look at the ozone layers. Now, there is this talked about the ozone layer being depleted due to activities of human gases. Now, as some persons who see that to the kind of rain patterns we are having now and so many of them, I want you to bring that to speak. What does this mean when we start having differential in kind of rainfall, what we used to have before? People tell you now it's as a result of the climate change. That's why we're having so much rain, and that's what's causing flood.
Some points, less of rain, not just too much.
Yes.
Less of rain. Thank you very much. You see, I talked of our green areas earlier on. If you look at I heard one of your guests earlier when I came in talking about the cars and the rest. The world is trying to shift from gas-creating technologies to free technologies that will have less of gases. If you come to the city of Abuja, you see a lot of cars. I've been privileged to go to one or two African countries, and you see, and even some of the when we have studied their system, you see a lot of cars on our streets, and these cars, if you check their technology, so backward, you see them emit so much smoke. Those artists that are trying to our green gases are affecting our ozone layer. Less of another one too is another major one too is the way we deforest our environment. One of those days when you build houses, you plant trees. When you build houses, very few houses now. You go to some houses, you only even have a green look around. These are some of the major factors that is affecting the layers we are talking about, and is affecting rainfall, without drought or excessive rainfall.
But some persons also attribute some of these challenges to population. So how does population affect climate change?
Of course it does. One of them is waste management, like I said earlier on.
Okay.
If our cities are developed, we should also be planning how do we manage the development, how do we decongest the environment. You see, sometimes you go to some areas, they become slums. Very popular city centers, you see them become slums. As population is increasing, we should also be thinking of how do we balance that with the ecosystem. Sometimes we are telling people it's not a bad idea if government start creating farms outside the major cities, creating sources of expanding our cities. And when we are building our cities, recently we have the government change start talking about we are clearing away. You go to some popular cities and then you see green areas being mutilated. People build on waterways, people build on where we said there should be trees, people cut trees and they have no replacement. I was just ready to come back from the north, and then you see they were complaining of some trees. Usually as a culture they plant trees, and then you see that even the environment is a bit hot and they still enjoy it. But in our major cities down this part of the country, we don't think of that. So I think as the population is increasing, which we sure will keep happening, we should also start thinking of how to make the environment more friendly for us and create a balance so that our children unborn will not come and meet the condition we are put. So I will not be solving the economic issue. Interestingly, most times we think it's only about the environment. No, it's not just about the environment. It's about us. It's about those who are coming. We talk about food shortage. If you come to one of things we also advocating is when people plant green things around their house. You can do vegetables, can do other so that will also happen. Because these environmental and climate issues, they affect the food supplies of everyone. Farmers are complaining, everybody's complaining because the weather is changing, and that is not far-fetched from climate effect.
But do you think we as a nation are ready to convert from the fossil energy to the electric cars and what's about that other worlds have been trying to divert to? Because that's one major challenge. Everybody's looking at zero emission. And Nigeria is yet to get to that level. But just like you mentioned, now we want to go into gas because fuel and it's not affordable. We want to use gas to power most of our vehicles now. While other parts of the world are looking beyond gas at this time.
Thank you very much. I think Nigeria as a nation, I don't want to sound very negative about my country, but I don't think we are ready yet. And most times we talk only about gas. Why do we always look at prioritize gas alone? There are other sources of energy that are available, no emission, cheaper and better. I tell you, for example, my house, I don't run a gen. We run solar. Solars are, on the long run, they might look expensive to get at it, but they are cheaper. Nigeria is a blessed nation. There are a lot of power supplies rather than us depending on fossil fuel to run all our systems, all our engines, all our generators and the rest. We can go on solar, we can go on wind powering. Why do we have to look at fossil fuel alone as a nation? Government should make these things affordable and cheaper, possibly give subsidy. And look at other areas. I was recently at the event I attended, and they were talking about creating the energy transition plan. We are far from it because we are only looking at fuel alone, just because that is where we feel there is money. We can also look at other areas. We can look at solar, we can look at powering with air and other parts. We can even look at agriculture. You see, we waste lot of tons of wasted farm produce. You do your rice. Hope you can generate biogas from rice. So why do we have to look at fuel alone? There's something is wrong with our policy. Then we have to go back on drawing board as a nation and as a people. Because the fear is, I think why we are going to shout of gas now, because we are going to see that if the fossil fuel is a premium thing to us, other nations are going to run away from them. But the thing it takes is expensive to transit to the next technology. This way government must come in with policies that are friendly, possibly start giving subsidies, and then retraining younger people who will be facing most of these challenges, and let us see. And then I also add, we should also start looking at green. The green sector should be promoted. The tech economy, people should start looking at how do I work around climate. It's not just climate action. A lot of people who are making serious money, and nations across the world are going to see how they are teeming with population. Nigeria have thousands of young people who are jobbing at it. We should start looking at very special areas like this, so we solve our national problem. But for now, government to be on board, individuals, investors to see, and then go back to drawing board and plan the future ahead.
Now, I think there is this climate conference that holds, I think, annually in Paris agreement, and most times when they go, they keep talking about the Western world, and the world is more responsible for what Africa is going through in terms of pollution and all that. And I know in one of the conferences, one of the issues they've been battling is compensation for African countries where they've had so much of this pollution here in Africa. Now, looking at the contribution of seminars like this and conferences, the Western nations, do you think they have much of interest of Africa in terms of helping us to tackle some of these climate challenges that we're talking about?
Of course they do. But then the problem with us is, as a nation and as Africans, I don't want to believe, some people say we are cursed, but I don't want to be a part of that negativity. Our policies are not stringent enough. I don't want to mention popular brands. One of the things we are advocating recently is the way we manage our plastic. I mentioned earlier on. You see on a popular carbonated drink, you see Recycle Me. We should start holding these multinationals to their words. We should start holding them to their words. We might say that, of course, any economy in the world we want to think of ourselves first, but we as a nation and as a people should stand up to what we believe is right. We feel it's not nobody's business. You go to government functions where you expect them to be preaching more of green economies, green wherever. You see bottles of plastic bottles everywhere. And then you wonder, and that's one of the major problems we have. We consume so much of polymers, and then these things will not biodegrade. Who manages them? Government should start looking at these areas and promote those guys in that industry. It should not just be fossil fuel. I'm happy we are going to see electric cars as an option. But the point is, can you and me afford the fossil fuel and electric car for now? No. We should start looking at other areas where we have effect of all these things. And then to me, I don't feel Nigeria is ready enough. When we go to COPs, when we go to other climate change events, we just talk. But when we get back home, there is no speedy action.
So why are we having that implementation? Why is it always a challenge for us if we know the importance of all these issues we're talking about? I think for the life of the citizens.
I think to me, I feel it's just we have not got to that point yet where it's a serious issue. And then it's not just about I am an advocate of climate action, but I also tell people you must also be responsible. You must also be responsible for everything that has to do with your environment. Don't just when you see sometimes we blame government people, they might be having their own lapses. But you see someone popularly on the road, he takes a carburetor and throws it up on the road. He goes to markets, he carries a lot of nylon bags, he gets home, he doesn't just trash them. He keeps them in the waterway. The government is bad? No. It should be collaborative, and government should be serious enough to realize that we are still on the gunpowder, and then climate and the environment is something everyone should work about. So I think we should, and then when they are going for all these type of calls and all these international climate events, they should involve stakeholders. There are CSOs who are big voices in the game. Government should not see that, should as politics. Say no, we are going there. Go there with the minister, go there with this, go there with the president, and then when we get back home, we are not calling the people who are on the streets. The message is not loud and clear enough. It's not for, I think I'm here for the second time, and I want to say that it is rare institutions who want to talk about climate. They don't feel it's not an issue, but then it's an issue. So government can get back at it. We should not blame the government, we should also see ourselves.
Yes, so that's what I was getting to, because we keep blaming government at all times. So but if you have to talk to the consciousness of Nigerians, so how to treat the environment in order for us to mitigate some of these climate challenges we're talking about, where will we start? Because we've talked about plastic and the rest of them, but there are other areas that we are not doing what we're supposed to do as individuals.
I think one major area we start from, like some of us have been doing, is awareness. It's proper awareness. I've collaborated with a lot of NGOs and some civil organizations and some free where we have volunteered on my own private time to be part of them, and then we have campaigns across the city, across cities. There's a major program as well. I don't want to mention brand names because it's a very personal place. And then you have to start with awareness. You and me must be responsible. Then we have to also hold our government responsible. Hold some of these production companies responsible. We cannot just feel what will happen. And then one major issue is as we keep getting bigger in our population and we're urbanizing all areas, there should be proper structures for waste management, for drainage, for power for everybody. And we should start looking at other areas of generating power. You see, if I know that, I tell people tell you other source of power, generating power is expensive. But on the short term, if you have a fossil fuel generation power that you set at home, and you calculate how much you spend to fill up your gas in a month, you see that you do maintenance and the rest. Common businessman, common arguments will tell you that it's cheaper if you go for solar, it's cheaper if you go for other less options of fossil fuel that will affect the environment. So it should be more of a worry. We won't stop until we get to where we are going, and then we'll keep talking about it. And people like you should also help us, every platform we have, to encourage others to speak up and then promote an environment that will be friendly to all.
So where are we now in terms of climate change in Nigeria? I will say, because I know there is this talk that in the nearest future there are some cabinets, some places that you cannot go to as far as the climate change is concerned.
We are far from getting where we should be going to. But there's no problem about the solution. We still keep talking, we still keep creating awareness, and creating systems that will make the environment more better. But government policies is key to changing where we are heading to, what we want to achieve. Government policies is key. Then individuals, CSOs, religious bodies should not just fold our hands and say not our business. So we are still far from getting to where we are going to, but we can get there.
But let me take care of this last question before we leave. The issue of flooding, I know it's becoming a recurrence every year, and I think it seems government has not even found a solution to it. We keep saying people block drainage ways, or probably sometimes related to river flood, the river overflow into communities. But as an advocate, what would be your probably a short-term measure, because we know that it's not something that you can actually eradicate immediately. In some places today it's a natural occurrence, but we've been able to point to the fact that climate change also is responsible for this flood. But in preferring solutions, if the government will have to key into some of these things, you say, what will you say?
Awareness and policies, awareness and proper education. Then climate should not be seen as just what we discuss on a short term. It should be part of our curriculum. Primary schools, secondary school, universities, they possibly create specialized courses for them. Also go the informal way. The market women, the religious bodies, because if someone is not educated, he can't take care of the environment. Our parents, our grandparents, those days, their local settings, when they are building their local hubs, they build trees around. We can also start creating those type of awareness. We should not just make it look like people cut. If you go to my village now, you can't get a tree to cut. If you want to build a house that possibly going to buy very far from somewhere. We should start creating better awareness and more awareness in our local languages, in our local dialects, and then government should keep policies that will be friendly enough and promoting those policies with stringent rules following them.
Let's thank you so much for your time, Julius Akinwede, a climate action advocate. Thank you so much for being on the program. All right, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, the program this morning on ITV continues.